Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Groups Under Review. Thank you for coming back and watching another video. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please feel free to click that so you can get updates on any of our future posts. Today we're going to be reviewing the Avengers during their first movie. Today I invited Dre today, who's an expert in improving group experiences, to give his opinions. As well as I have Katie, who will be talking about advantages and disadvantages of small groups. And then Adrian will be talking about types of small groups. And then I'll be talking to you guys about the structure of small groups. And we'll each give a rating to the Avengers on how well they did in each category.
My name is Dre Love, and the content I will be going over is, number one, active listening. When it comes to active listening, it requires group members' ability to concentrate and focus on other members and their ideas and any input they want to put in on the work that they're doing. Some techniques would be eye-to-eye contact, not interrupting, listening without judging or jumping to conclusions, and staying focused.
Yes, we were going to build an arsenal with the Tesseract. I never put all my chips on that number, though, because I was playing something even riskier. There was an idea. Stark knows this. Called the Avengers Initiative. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles that we never could. Phil Coulson died still believing in that idea. In heroes.
Setting roles and responsibilities within groups. Setting roles and responsibilities within groups is important because having roles in groups helps with structure. What this means is the groups are less likely to be chaotic. Also, roles within groups enable members to embrace diversity and do what they are best at. Having roles also encourage creativity and promotes collaboration.
Guys?
Call it, Captain.
All right, listen up. Until we can close that portal, our priority is containment. Barton, I want you on that roof, eyes on everything, call out patterns and strays. Stark, you've got the perimeter. Anything gets more than 3 blocks out, you turn it back or you turn it to ash.
You give me a lift? Right. Better clench up, Legolas.
Thor, you gotta try and bottleneck that portal. Slow him down. You got the lightning. Light the bastards up. You and me, we stay here on the ground. We keep the fighting here. And Hulk. Smash.
Lastly, I will be discussing encouraging communication within groups. Groups can encourage communication by having an open door policy, which means not feeling some type of way when someone wants to express themselves or talk about something. It's also important to be open to feedback and have feedback to give to a member. Asking questions also encourages communication.
Director, the world hasn't changed a bit.
Did you know about this?
You want to think about removing yourself from this environment, Doctor?
I was in Calcutta. I was pretty well removed.
Loki is manipulating you.
And you've been doing what exactly?
You didn't come here because I bat my eyelashes at you.
Yes, and I'm not leaving because suddenly you get a little twitchy. I'd like to know why S.H.I.E.L.D. is using the Tesseract to build weapons of mass destruction.
Because of him. Me. Last year, Earth had a visitor from another planet who had a grudge match that leveled a small town. We learned that not only are we not alone, but we are hopelessly, hilariously outgunned.
My people want nothing but peace with your planet.
But you're not the only people out there, are you? And you're not the only threat. The world's filling up with people that can't be matched. They can't be controlled.
Like you controlled the cube?
Your work with the Tesseract is what drew Loki to it, and his allies. It is a signal to all the realms that the Earth is ready for a higher form of war.
A higher form?
You forced our hand. We had to come up with
a nuclear deterrent, because that always calms everything right down.
Remind me again how you made your fortune, Stark.
I'm sure if he still made weapons, Stark would be neck deep.
Wait, hold on. How is this now about me?
I'm sorry, isn't everything?
I thought human...
Thanks for the information, Dre. We're now moving on over to Katie, talking about advantages and disadvantages of small groups.
First, I will be talking about the advantages in the film. In Avengers, they had their fair share of decision making. The first one that I saw in the movie was Tony and Bruce working together to find where the Tesseract is. They were going off of one another to figure out what they had to do in order to find out what Loki was doing.
Now, gamma readings are definitely consistent with salvage reports of the Tesseract, but it's going to take weeks to process.
If we bypass their mainframe and direct route to the Homer cluster, we can clock this at around 600 teraflops.
All I packed was a toothbrush.
You know, you should come by Stark Tower sometime. Top 10 floors, all R&D. You'd love it. It's Candyland.
Thanks, but the last time I was in New York, I kind of broke Harlem.
Well, I promise a stress-free environment. No tension, no surprises.
Ow!
Was Tony and Captain America deciding what to do about the broken propeller on the aircraft and how they were going to work together to solve that. As we can see, Tony tells Captain America that he needs to fix the propeller in order for the aircraft to not crash. Captain America tells Tony about the consequences he might face, and Tony lets him know that if Captain America can pull the red lever, then he will be just fine, and the aircraft will not fail.
It seems to run on some form of electricity.
Well, you're not wrong.
Okay, the relays are intact. What's our next move?
Even if I clear the rotors, this thing won't re-engage without a jump. I'm gonna have to get in there and push.
Well, if that thing gets up to speed, you'll get shredded.
That stator control unit can reverse the polarity long enough to disengage maglev, and that should...
Speak English.
See that red lever? It'll slow the rotors down long enough for me to get out. Stand by it. Wait for my word.
Fail. Next, I will talk about the shared resources that Avengers had. The first thing I noticed in the film was that S.H.I.E.L.D. was sharing their resources on the ship in order to find Loki. Even though the Avengers did not have their own material resources, S.H.I.E.L.D. was able to provide them with those material resources in order for the work to get done. The next thing I saw was Bruce using his expertise in gamma radiation to find where Loki hid the Tesseract. Bruce had experienced it firsthand, so he understands what Loki would have to do in order to have the Tesseract off of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s radar. Black Widow was also using her expertise in interrogation in order to secretly manipulate Loki into getting angry and emotional to give up his plan. The next thing I would like to talk about is synergy. During their first Avengers meeting, everyone was coming under a common goal as they all wanted to find Loki and destroy his plan. Though Loki had his plan set out straight, I don't think he really knew what to expect because he had never tried to get his own society before. What to expect because he had never tried to get his own society before. It wasn't necessarily to destroy Loki, but to destroy his plan. It was not only to also find Loki, but it was also a means for them to prove themselves and that they want to actually help the people everywhere and not just cause chaos. They were able to connect under the common goal of wanting to save the world. After Agent Coulson passes, the synergy and the group skyrockets because now they have their grievance and anger pushing them through. The next thing I would like to talk about is exposure to diversity. That just in itself should explain it. I mean, in the movie, everyone is different, and they all have different goals beforehand and what they think their life is going to turn out as. But they soon look to each other and realize that they have stories that they're able to tell each other in order for the group to understand each other. They all want to do some good in the world, and even though they don't have the same life, they can still learn and talk about each other. There are also ethical implications in the movie. When the board of S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to nuke New York City in order to try and save the rest of the world, Tony Stark didn't want that to happen, so he sacrificed himself in order to deter the nuke into the wormhole in the sky. He still was working in the group, and he still was working as a part of the group, but they still had a common goal that they had to go on towards. And not everybody can sacrifice themselves in order to save everybody. They all still had their own purposes in the group, like some of them had to distract the rest of the monsters in order for Tony to actually be able to sacrifice himself and get everyone safe. Now I will explain the disadvantages I saw in the movie. Some of the disadvantages we see in small groups is that one person is more effective in solo work than as a group. I saw this first when Black Widow was doing her interrogation on the president, and she had to work alone in order for the president to not hold back on all the things he was telling her and how devious his plan was. Also, when Thor was fighting against Iron Man and Captain America, it would have been better for Thor to fight with Loki alone because of their past together. Again, it's about the intimate situations that they have. This would have given Loki some hope, and you know what? Maybe the rest of the movie wouldn't have had to be filmed because the problem would have stopped there. There is also coordination and group planning. So when the group was in its forming stage, they didn't know quite who the leader was or what they were there to do, what they were there to find. And they didn't know each other well enough, so nobody knew who was the leader, who was going to be the one to joke around, who was going to be the one to quit, all of that. And I also saw when Captain America was able to give everyone a task on the bridge, though this was good, since it took time to coordinate, because of course in the situation you want the plan to be commencing and done with, but it took time for his plan to be set in motion, and this was running down the clock in order to save the day. I only saw a little bit of social loafing in this movie, and someone in the ship was playing games, so instead of taking care of the ship's needs, This meant he was reaping the benefits of, his pay without doing any actual work.
Thanks for the insights, Katie. Now it's time to move on to Adrian talking about the different types of small groups.
There are many different types of small groups, but small groups can mostly be divided between task-oriented groups and rational-oriented groups. Task-oriented groups are formed to solve a problem, promote a cause, or generate ideas or information for different types of tasks. Task-oriented groups require a honed set of skills that are focused towards accomplishing a goal or solving a problem. Task-oriented groups are often faced with having to devise a course of action to meet a specific need. Rational-oriented groups, on the other hand, are formed to promote interpersonal relationships, and relationships are focused on interactions that will contribute to the well-being of the group. For the Avengers, the movie clearly exemplifies the creation and function of a task-oriented group, designed to take on the most formidable of enemies that can't be dealt with through normal means. We see that the purpose of the group when Nick Fury is being told by the World Security Council that the problem with Loki and the Tesseract must be dealt with, to which Nick activates the Avengers Initiative. Later on, Fury explains that the purpose of the initiative is to be a problem-solving one for when problems cannot be dealt through normal means, I guess through military or diplomatic means, and he's explaining this to Captain America and Iron Man. The storming stage of the Tuckman model comes right after the forming stage. It is when the group is at its most dysfunctional, characterized by resistance, lack of participation, conflict, competition, and high emotions. In the movie, there's an argument between the Avengers about what the plan exactly is and who's doing what, which causes a lot of conflict as a result of high emotions and tension, especially since a lot is at stake in the context of the film. This causes Captain America and Iron Man to butt heads to see who is exactly in charge of the situation and who has the better idea with dealing with the problem at hand.
Thanks for the info on that, Adrian. Time to move on to the structure of small groups, which I'll be talking about. So for structures of small groups, different influences can have an effect on group structure. For example, member characteristics. Well-informed group members or highly motivated group members can definitely have a big impact on how the group forms. For example, Captain America. He knows Nick Fury the most and has background information as the first involved. And this influenced him to where he became pretty much one of the leaders of the team. The group size, the task, and the resources also can change a lot on the structure of the small groups. It affects what different roles are available, how they go about accomplishing the task, and what types of people are in the group, and the abilities to recruit more capable people. There's a great example of how S.H.I.E.L.D. has so many different people and different resources, so it allows them to be able to pull in different people. It allows them to spend more money and have more access to accomplish the task. They use ships to get there. If they didn't have those resources, then they probably would have failed in their task. So just those make big impacts on how the group's formed. The structure of small groups can also be formed through network connections. There's really two different ways. There's formal and informal. With formal, there's clearly defined roles and responsibilities. They may be part of a larger hierarchy with a larger structure. Like I was saying about S.H.I.E.L.D., is that there's different hierarchy. The Avengers is just a small group that's included in that group. And so they're part of that larger hierarchy. But then there's informal, which is the connections between the members and others outside of the group that aren't part of a hierarchy. Both are important in information gathering and resources available. For example, with informal, Thor is aware of Nick Fury. They're not really part of the same group, but Thor gets pulled into it because of the informal connections. Same with the Hulk being he was never part of S.H.I.E.L.D. He wasn't approached by S.H.I.E.L.D. until that time, but they're aware of him. The structure can definitely affect the communication. That's a big part of it. The size of the group, a larger group makes it really hard scheduling coordination wise with other members of the group, while a smaller group, there's less conflicts in schedules typically, so it's a lot easier to get together. And then there's two different main ways that you can structure your groups. There's a centralized structure in which one person is kind of leader or expert, and most of the info is passed along through them. They make a lot of the decisions, and this results in a higher speed and efficiency. But it does have the effect of other members are less likely to work together without the leader and make like their own decisions. Then the other type is the decentralized, and it's when there isn't really one true leader. Group members typically interact with a few others in the group who also interact with others. So it's kind of like a big spider web where everyone's connected differently through different people. And this actually results in being able to solve more complex problems. Earlier in the video, we showed a slide of all the Avengers getting together and arguing. You can kind of see that how each character interacts with one or two of the other characters. There's not typically a lot of them interacting together at the same time. They're all kind of having their own separate conversations. So based upon the 4 areas of criteria we have decided to give the Avengers a 3.875 star rating. So thank you guys for tuning in to our YouTube video. Make sure if you enjoyed the video to give it a like and hit the subscribe button. Looking forward to seeing you guys next time.